What's up, Diablo 4 Sorceresses? So let's talk about Season 5's PTR and kind of what's changing. And I actually want to open it up with something that's kind of interesting, which is that the Sorcerers will now be able to use the one-handed swords as well as maces. So there could be something interesting to maybe try out with DoomBringer or the AzureWrath build, but I want to say, as far as I can tell, I don't know if it's going to be like the top tier. There are going to be two brand new uniques that I actually think are going to be more interesting, but I like the idea that we can have more stuff that we can equip for maybe other classes or things that normally we weren't supposed to. But I want to go ahead and start off the video with the two brand new uniques that I think that some people will be interested in making a build around. So for starters, let's look at one of these at a time. We're going to be looking at the staff on the left side here. So Vox Nunum has the special power, like we get some in, some core, like this stuff doesn't really matter too much. We do get plus ranks to basic skills, but the special unique power that this thing has is casting a core skill additionally fires 2 instances of Firebolt, Frostbolt, or Spark, matching the elements of your last 2 non-core skill casts. These projectiles deal some sort of X multiplier of damage up to like 90x, okay? So while you do still get some extra damage, this thing could actually be pretty interesting for actually activating certain things, like if maybe you can utilize the unique Pain Gorger, or anything that could just activate off of Lucky Hit, because you get 2 casts of that. So losing out on, let's say, the Temper mod to not have like double projectiles, well, you're getting double projectiles essentially with that, and you also have a core skill activating, so you could actually have some cool, interesting ways to maybe activate something for just like the Lucky Hit chance of whatever core skill, and then whatever thing that you're firing out after can then be the source of your damage. Or if you just want to have Lucky Hit activation of some sort of a thing, that could be something to consider. So I like the idea of this item, of like these more interesting things. Now, as far as actual conduit, these were the pants that were for chain lightning. So on the pants, you actually have a chance for the projectiles to cast twice, and these are on pants, so it's usually a category where you don't really have some offensive stat, but you also have this crazy amount of resource generation. I mean, imagine this getting a greater affix. That's almost like 50% extra resource generation. You also get damage reduction, which is a good stat as well. So overall, these pants look really good. You also get ranks to chain lightning, since this is going to be maybe your source of damage. However, how it works is the chain lightning is going to alternate orbiting between seeking up to 3 enemies, and when it returns, it drains 6 mana for you for each active chain lightning. So after draining a total of 66 mana, the bolt explodes for some huge amount of damage. Now, looking at this damage, now it depends on the character that's actually equipping this. It doesn't really matter, like this number range could actually be way higher. Its range is actually determined by the character that is like seeing the item, so we don't know the full extent of this, but just if we're looking at it for the viewpoint of, like, let's say 26k, right? The problem that I have with this in terms of the way it's designed, it drains 6 mana for each active chain lightning. So that would mean that you would need 10 of these to kind of go in and out, right, before it actually pops for that damage. Now, a lot of people are saying that this could be one of the best builds, and it could still very be one of the best builds. The problem I have with it is that's basically having chain lightning go between 10 times, and chain lightning doesn't really necessarily deal damage as right now. Although you have double chance for chain lightning here, and then you also have chance for double chain lightning on your tempering recipes, right? So if we add all of those up, you can get a bunch of chain lightning to shoot out, but it actually has to drain this mana, otherwise you will not get that effect if you run out. So you're going to have to heavily invest into some sort of like resource generation or plus mana per second to get the damage that is actually less than a Tal Rasha proc. And Tal Rasha is much easier to scale because with things like Bane on certain classes, I mean, it's another 40% increase like duration, which is essentially just way more damage. But chain lightning expires also if you don't have enough mana for it to drain, so you just lose out on the power. So I'm not sure if this is really going to be that powerful like people want it to be, because the main problem with Sorceress is that we actually have a lot more caps, and you're going to see a lot of these caps over here. And well, I want to say that the caps were probably put in place so we don't have some crazy damage numbers. Sorceress definitely need a lot more buffs than nerfs here. So I already went over some of these brand new uniques over here, but there's also some new aspects that we can go over. So we have Aspect of the Fireburst, so you get the Flame Shield enchantment for free. When Flame Shield activates, meteorites fall around you, dealing some sort of damage. Now, if you could spam on your Flame Shield, this wouldn't really be that bad because you can maybe try to make a build that would give you some sort of amount of damage, but the problem is going to be later down in the patch. So this is for, again, Season 5's PTR. And then we have Chain Lightning has a chance to chain additional time when hitting a crowd-controlled enemies and bosses. It will seek them as targets. So you have a chance for, again, Chain Lightning to do even more damage, but doubling some sort of damage that is relatively low is still probably not going to be that great unless we see other buffs, which we'll get into. So we also have the aspect of Elemental Acuity, which makes it so when you cast a Pyromancy Shock or Frost skill, increases your mana regen. Okay, so that could actually help, but it's once per element. So I'd kind of want you to go and mix things up. But at maximum stacks, the bonus is increased to 100 up to 120%. For 10 seconds, but all stacks expire after the duration, so you're going to have to rebuild that up. So we'll see if that becomes actually really good to kind of expend all of your mana. And then we also have the aspect of the Orange Herald, so it's a lucky hit up to a 5 to 10% chance when you damage an enemy with a skill to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate skill for 2 seconds. It can only happen once per skill cast. Now with Unstable Currents, you could probably get out, additional Chain Lightnings. They're also buffing a couple of different lightning things here, but well, let's check out the stats. So we also have temporary recipes for discharge for the weapon, which chance to cast an additional charge bolt got removed from the shock icons. Teleport size got moved over here from shock, and then we have a chance for arc lash to swipe twice. Okay, and then I believe this one is new because I don't believe this was there before, and there's actually maybe a build with arc lash now. Then we also have conjuration on weapon. Oh, going back to Arc Lash casting twice, I was really hoping that this would work with Arc Lash, but it only works with Spark, unfortunately, and Arc Lash was way better. Arc Lash was actually like pretty god tier for like lucky hit way long ago back. I think this was like, it's either season, I think it was like in the as alpha or something like that, where Arc Lash actually was one of the top skills because it hit for good damage and it had pretty good lucky hit, and that got absolutely nerfed. I hope that they can maybe return to it. But next up with the conjuration weapon, we have +1 to 2 Hydra heads on cast, and then we have a chance for another ice blade on cast, change for lightning spear on cast. Then we have utility, we have Hydra lucky hit, Ice Blade, Lightning Spear, all lucky hits, ranks to Convulsion, Snap, Freeze, Crippling Flames, and then existing temporary recipe additions. The ranks to Conduction added to Sorcerer Motion, and then X to Ice Armor Duration got added to Frost Cage, which actually might be something to actually look at because there's going to be a pretty big nerf to specifically the Immortal Sorceress over here. So, other Sorceress changes, there's actually quite a bit here. This Crackling Energy, I didn't really see Crackling Energy being super strong like ever. I built it, I think in Season 2, I attempted to make it. Same thing with Esidoras. They far underperformed anything that was available. I don't think that a 10% increase is going to make it viable. But on Ice Armor, there is actually a nerf here. So you're getting basically almost double the stats, but it doesn't gain increased shield amount based on the damage that you would deal, which is going to be a nerf. However, they're not nerfing it as hard as they were doing with the Fire one, which on the Flame Shield, it doesn't actually start. Well, we'll get into that when we see it, but like basically, its cooldown doesn't start when you activate it. It starts when you end it, which means no more immortality, which I kind of expected that anyways. But Charge Bolts, the base damage got increased by 8%. Again, it'll help out with a brand new unique. And then Enhanced Charged Bolts, the explosion damage got increased for 25% extra. So small stuff. It slowly may add up eventually, but the base damage over here for the Spark got increased. This is for the other one. This is actually the other skill for the Sorc. This is the core skill, actually, I believe. I think there was another 25% boost in a previous patch note, but again, I haven't seen anyone play Charged Bolts at all. So Spark also getting increased. This is for like the unique over here. So we got that. The base damage per hit got increased by 2%, another 2%. And then we have Glinting Spark. Previous Spark gains 2%, increased critical strike chance per cast for 5 seconds, up to 8. And then now it's changed up to same amount, but then at max stacks, your Spark hits grant 1 mana. Ooh, huge. But actually, thinking about it now, with this, like, you can consistently cast your core skills, and then when the other thing activates, you're getting basically free mana, if that makes any sense. Unfortunately, you cannot, like, well, I mean, you could run this over here, and then I guess you would have Spark with Chain Lightning, and you could maybe throw in Pain Gorgers. You come up with some, again, very interesting stuff, but I think the numbers just may need to be tweaked to be a lot higher, but at least we have some sort of synergy with what people could actually build. Blizzard, I was really curious on this one. The base damage got increased by 20%, and then the enhanced Blizzard got increased from 25 to 40. Now, as far as I'm aware of, Blizzard still doesn't do damage. You're still using the ice spikes to deal out all the damage, so is this the buff they needed? Needed, I think, more of a buff to the ice spikes and maybe what you could do with those. And then Hydra, the base damage got increased by 2%, but the burn damage got increased by 40. So maybe almost like a double stat over here, because remember, this is going to take into consideration off of the base damage anyways. So this could be something to look at if you want some sort of maybe damage over time build with Hydra. The reason why Hydra was really good, I believe in Season 0 through 1, was because it used to scale off of the monster's HP, so as you would go higher, it counted as like another monster or something. That's why the glitch happened in like the Abattoir of Zir, where you could infinitely summon Hydras. So unless Hydra gets some sort of like crazy bug, I still, unfortunately, even doubling something, it sounds great, but the numbers just weren't really there to match up. If we're still able to compete with some of the other stuff, then we got this buff, then I can see it becoming much better. The base damage of almost all ultimates really need a rework in Diablo 4. It's kind of strange that in terms of game design, in the ultimate department, a lot of builds either don't play the ultimate, or the ultimate just gives you an X multiplier for some other skill, versus the ultimate being a really long cooldown, but it hits really hard and like clears the whole screen, right? So I don't really understand this, like increasing the damage of like the ultimates. They still don't do enough damage. Most core skills deal on par, if not more damage than an ultimate, because you can't get ranks to the ultimate unless that changes. Then we have Flickering Arc Lash, so you would normally gain some movement speed, and now you grant yourself 5 mana if it hits one enemy. When you hit 3 or more, the next swipe actually deals some more damage. Unfortunately, it does not work with the newer like staff, because it doesn't count Arc Lash. I wish it counted Arc Lash, because Arc Lash is kind of nice for the way it feels too. And then Chain Lightning now tracks how many are out. Then we have Greater Chain Lightning, so it actually does a little bit more damage, but it has a limit now. So it used to deal 5% increased damage for its duration when it bounces. Now it starts off dealing 10% increased damage for its duration, but it only lasts up to 30, so basically 3. Before, I guess this could, in theory, go higher, but it's more faster damage. Then Chain Lightning Enchantment has now a 4-second cooldown, which is really bad, because you would normally have Chain Lightning activate. Let me double check. So the Chain Lightning Enchantment used to be, wherever Chain Lightning is, so you get one for free after spending 100 mana, and now it has a 4-second cooldown. That's no good. The reason why people ran it back in like Ball Lightning days was literally just for the mana, because you would just get free extra Chain Lightnings. Now, I believe that there is another way. Let me double check on this too. So it might not be all that bad, because there was a legendary node, and I remember actually doing this. So after spending 100 mana, our next cast of Chain Lightning or Charged Bolts makes enemies vulnerable, and it also restores 10% of your mana. So that could actually help out quite a bit. So if you were worried about this, well, you could get something on the Paragon that kind of gives you something at least. I just don't like that it has a cooldown, considering, I mean, this whole season is about Chain Lightning, and then they're like, okay, well, let's just nerf the Chain Lightning enchantment. And again, I really want Sorceresses to be somewhat more viable. Like, I guess the last season we had was Season 2 with Sorceress. Ball Lightning was super OP, but it no longer tracks the mana or sends out the Chain Lightnings if the instance of mana drain is from an auto cast skill. Okay, so, okay, or it doesn't actually send out the instance of Chain Lightning if the mana drain is from an auto cast skill. Okay, so I'm wondering how that's going to actually work. But nonetheless, Ice Armor is being changed, which we already went over, and then this is what I was talking about. Flame Shield, where the cooldown begins when invulnerability ends, so that is a massive, massive nerf. But again, I actually mentioned it several times. I didn't think this thing would last, because it was never really supposed to. When they nerfed Hectic, it was basically for the Frosty Strides Immortality Sorceress that was clearing 200 pit like instantly in a minute or two. It was really fast, but that's gone, and now it's no longer going to be viable to even run. Like the Immortal, Fire a Wall, Fire a Bolt, but that's not really getting nerfed in the damage department, so you'll still have the good damage. Then we have Enhanced Lightning Spear over here, so the previous one where it would gain increased stacking critical strike, now it spawns additional Lightning Spear, so you get additional crit strike chance by 15, so I guess that's like a nice little buff over there, but I don't remember Lightning Spear being used for really anything except for stun. Then we have Wizard's Blizzard. So while Blizzard is active, our core skills cost 20% less mana. Now, while Blizzard is active, you gain extra mana regen for every 20 maximum mana. So maybe you get like, 200 mana, 10 extra mana per second is actually pretty good. That's almost equivalent to like a 12 out of 12, like, Masterwork times 2, I believe, on some, like, mana regen for those different slots. So it's actually quite a bit. So I don't know if people will just use this for, let's say, mana regen. But teleport, the cooldown got increased, so that's a nerf. The base damage got increased. I haven't seen a really insane teleport build, but you could do open world content. This was a concept where I wanted to get like 50 ranks into teleport, which I believe you can still do. Now, is it good? Well, another 10% damage. There's like another 500x damage, which I was going crazy about. I thought that was going to be really, really powerful, but the base of the skill was not big enough. Is this going to make it good? With the addition of cooldown, not going to be good. I think they should have made it so like this number was way, way, way higher if they're going to make this also higher, because it makes the bar to entry if you wanted to play the thing to deal damage. It just makes it so much harder. You have to dedicate so much to that build. Anyways, Convulsions, the passive, so the stun chance got increased by 2. Crippling Flames, you got an extra 2%. Immobilize, freeze chance got up to 2% bonus. Static Discharge over here got increased by 1%. And the 50% for each rank on the Shocking Impact. Combustion, base burning damage got increased by 40%. Fierce Mastery, which it was bugged. Let me see if they fixed it. So it used to make it so enemies would take 15% increased damage from their shock skills and deal 20% less damage to you. Crit strikes increase these bonus to 20% and 25% for 3 seconds. Now, when you critically strike an enemy with shock skills, you become charged and take 25% less damage for 5 seconds. While charged, crit strikes have a 10% chance to cause the damage to arc as lightning damage to another nearby enemy, or if there are no other targets, it hits the target again for 250% of the damage. Okay. So this could actually be quite good now for some sort of shock variant. I mean, again, it seems like that might be the flavor of the month of the Sorceress. Then we have the legendary aspects. We got the charge aspect, the movement speed bonus got increased, the aspect of efficiency, the mana cost reduction got increased. Well, that's a huge jump, it's doubling it. And then engulfing flames, the burning damage to enemies below 50% life got increased by another 50%. And then we have aspect of abundant energy. The previous crackling energy has a chance to chain to an additional enemy, and then now crackling energy has a 35 to 50% chance to deal 40x increased damage and chain to another enemy. Okay, so it's 40x damage on the crackling energy. Maybe now it's time to invest in a lightning source. So aspect of splintering energy. So casting lightning spear always spawns additional lightning spear, increases our damage with shock skills. Oh, okay. So we have to see what this number is. Let's see, what is this? Critical hits with lightning spear cause lightning to arc from it, dealing X damage to its target up to 5 of the enemies. This damage increased by your crit strike damage bonus. Now, if this has no limit, I actually see Sorceress being quite good now. The reason why is because you can get a lot of crit strike damage now that we have the natural like crit thing. Every single class can get a huge amount, but the problem is they're starting to put caps on everything. And I don't really like that, because I like the idea, if I'm going to be a dexterity stacker or strength stacker or vulnerable stacker or whatever, why is there a limit on these things? That is like, you know, I get it, they don't want the damage to go crazy, but like, what's the consequence at the end of the day when we've already had so many builds that have been so strong? People just really like playing that build, they have fun. I think that hopefully this will not have a cap. If it doesn't have a cap, this could actually be potentially one of the top tier builds, and it depends on what are these numbers, right? And then with Binding Embers, the Flame Shield will let you move unhindered, then you could like immobilize the enemy. Now let's grant you unhindered, and enemies you move through while Flame Shield is active or immobilized is probably still, I don't think people are going to use it. Ice Spike damage increase, oh, there we go. And now it has 15% extra damage to Ice Spike instead of 15% extra chill. Okay. So, so not only do we have this, so we got basically 20% boost, and then we have 15% extra damage. Cool. So that's what is that? 35% extra damage to ice spikes. Okay. Next up, the ice spike damage got increased. Ooh, from 80 to 120. Ooh, that is very nice. Now I think Blizzard actually might be a lot better. Not for Blizzard damage, for the ice spike, which they go hand in hand. So now we have a 15% extra chill with ice spikes instead of damage. Oh, so we lost out on something. So now you just don't run glacial aspect. Why would they change this? I guess their idea was, we're going to move this over here, and then we're going to give you the damage, and if you really want that chill, which, I mean, yeah, I just don't see people running like a 15% extra chill for an aspect versus like the damage. I don't know. But next up, though, we have Paragon. So Burning Instinct crit strike bonus got reduced from 1% per 25 to 1% to 50, and it caps. What? What? This is crazy because this technically was my first time seeing this. I might have glanced over it, but when I was doing my like first initial impressions of the like seasonal like patch, this is crazy that they're nerfing it. They're basically cutting it in half and making it have a cap. Wow, that is a huge surprise over there. But next up, ceaseless crackling energy damage reduced from 3% to what? But maybe all these other buffs make it try to keep in line. Elemental Summoner now has a bonus cap. Oh no. Icefall, damage with frost skills got increased by 3%. Woo, okay. I mean, I know it sounds small, but you add all these things up and it starts to feel a lot better. And then we have Unleash, you get extra 1% damage. Then the mana regen actually got buffed up quite a bit. Okay, that's cool. Tempering recipes over here. Oh, these are just for like all the game classes. So I believe that is it for the Sorc in terms of like all of the changes over here. That looks like that's going to be it. They fixed an issue where, hey, this was the glitch I was talking about. Veers, so it was applying to non-shock skills. So that actually is a nerf, but it's a bug technically. And they fixed an issue where Ice Armor's tooltip suggested the barrier value would increase when dealing damage. Oh, it's a tooltip. I thought that's how the skill actually worked, but whatever. So here's what I think that you may want to look out for Sorceress. So there are a bunch of such small things that got buffed that I want to say that they might just be kind of negligible. But it looks like they really want us to mess around with some sort of lightning build with specifically Chain Lightning. That's the thing that I've got my eye on more than anything, some sort of Chain Lightning variant where you're just going to be spamming a bunch of stuff with the brand new Veers Mastery and then run Unstable Currents just so you get like more of these things just constantly shooting out. You're going to have a very rough time, I think, with mana, so it might be like a really hard build to start at the very beginning of the season. This might be like an endgame only. You got to get your uber uniques because Harlequin also has resource gen, and now when you get that greater affix or masterwork on resource gen, you won't be complaining because it's not like a bad set. They also did recently buff glass cannon, and so this could be something to consider as well. But as far as teleport being a viable build or immortal sorceress, those look like they're going to be gone. But I wouldn't sign Blizzard out of like the thing completely, as in like the skill. Again, for ice spike damage, because there's a lot of different multipliers, and so maybe this could be something to play for the PTR. But anyways, if you guys want to see gameplay of all of these new changes to the Sorceress, I'll be dropping it very soon. In just a couple days, I'll give you guys Season 5 gameplay. And I think I want to test out the Lightning one first, and then Blizzard. And then if there is some sort of like reason to show off the other, like, I don't know, Hydra, especially since they also made so many caps on some of the stuff that I honestly didn't feel like there was a need to cap. But the also the staff over here, I think this could be quite fun. Again, you do Chain Lightning with some sort of like Chain Lightning, you run Axial Conduit, you also throw in Pain Gorgers, and you could just have some cool like build. I think this will be fun, but it's going to be top tier of the game. I think it's going to still be Barbarian, to be honest. But what do you guys have the most excitement for as far as Sorceress in Season 5 so far via their patch notes? But anyways, that's going to wrap things up. Subscribe if you guys want to see the gameplay of Season 5 Sorceress, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.